Okay, hello chess players. Today we're going to be doing a video about move orders, I guess, to get to the Lasker Pelican. Because I suppose it wouldn't be move orders in the Lasker Pelican because there's about 20 different names for the openings that lead up to it. Anyways, if you like content like this and want to see more of it, please hit that subscribe button and click on your notification icon. So I don't know exactly what to call this video. It's either going to be move orders in the Lasker Pelican or it's going to be me pulling my hair out saying, what opening is this? Um, so it happens after e4, e5, knight f3, and then at this point, actually any number of moves, but we'll just give one example. Knight c6, d4, cd4, knight d4, knight f6, knight on 1 to c3, e5, and knight on d to b5, d6, bishop g5, and here we are. We're in the Lasker Pelican. Now, this opening, in so many ways, is one of the more annoying things in terms of trying to teach people, openings, or just, even just as a chess master trying to play chess at a highly proficient level, trying to learn openings. This opening has this annoying quality to it. And it's not the opening itself. There's nothing about the positions that are terribly difficult. It's just that when you're learning openings, it is handy to learn the name of the opening so that you can kind of, in your mind, catalog all of the positions that are associated with that opening. And these openings, or this set of openings in a sense, is named, I think, pretty terribly because it's very confusing. Um, but for purposes of learning, and if you're trying to learn this opening, there's only two openings that you need to remember. You need to remember the Lasker Pelican, and you need to remember the Kalishnikov. And the rest of the openings are actually irrelevant, to be totally honest, because you can get to this position from so many different move orders, and they're named different things along the way. So, for example, you can get to this position from the so-called Taimanov move order. After d4, cd4, knight d4, instead of knight f6, they could, of course, play e6. And this is going to be the Taimanov move order. They can play e6, and then you could have like knight on b to d5, and then you could actually get to an absolutely identical position if they continue with something like, say, knight f6, knight on 1 to c3, d6, bishop f4, e5, bishop g5. You are in the identical position. Everything is the same. Black two-stepped his pawns, you two-stepped your bishop. It's a move later. So it's a different, but all the castling rights are the same. It's still black's move. Everything's identical. You're in the Lasker Pelican. You just got there from a time enough move order. You can also get there from, instead of knight c6, they could, of course, play e6. And, of course, this has a different name as well. You're starting something similar to a pulsing Khan. So you can get there from this move order as well. You could have e6, d4, cd4, knight d4. And then you could have knight c6, knight b5. And guess what? We can get to the same spot. Knight f6, knight c3, d6, bishop g, etc. So we're there. Okay, you can get there via something called the Lowenthal move order, which would go knight c6, d4, cd4, knight d4. We could have e5 right away, knight b5, d6, knight on 1 to c3, a6 even is possible. They can play knight f6 right here, and we're going to be in the exact same situation. Knight f6, bishop g5. Guess what? It is the same. We are back in the Lasker Pelican. Now, the only positions that are different from the Lasker Pelican in terms of how you study these positions are going to be your independent Kalishnikov lines. Now they can get to the independent Kalishnikov lines from any number of move orders. They can get there from the e6 move order. They can get there from the knight c6 Taimanov move order. They can get there from the straight all these. It doesn't matter. There's so many ways that they can do it. Now, the independent Kalishnikov lines can start with a6, and then of course actually bishop g5 is possible, and then black has to make a decision if he's going to play some crazy gambit line with f6 or if he's just going to transpose. We can get there again. We can get back to the Lasker Pelican. Knight f6 is possible. But if you don't want to play this crazy looking sacrifice beginning with bishop g5, you can retreat with knight a3, and then we're going to have b5, and we're going to have knight d5. And now we get to the point where we have pretty much the only relevant uh, deviation from the Lasker Pelican, which is going to be the Lowenthal. And there's two different moves that they can try for it. They can try this knight back to e7 or this knight to e7. And as far as I know, I think the current theory says that both of them are playable. So they can either play that knight back to e7 or one of the knights goes to e7 instead of f6. Basically, that's That's going to be your independent line. And that's the Kalishnikov. So the easiest way to remember the difference between the Lasker Pelican and the Kalishnikov is once this knight goes to d5, in the Lasker Pelican, the knight goes to f6, and now after bishop g5, we have a Lasker Pelican. And of course, in the Kalishnikov, a knight goes to the e7 square. And honestly, I don't think it makes much difference, like whether it's the c knight or the g knight. I don't think it makes a difference in terms of how you label it. I think the positions are a little bit different. But in terms of how you organize it in your own head, I don't think it makes much of a difference. So knowing all the move orders for this actually does matter, because in this case you have to understand that the move orders aren't that relevant, that they don't matter that much. You're getting to the same place no matter what. I mean, the only place where the move orders might be relevant is if you play my crazy anti-Kalishnikov sacrifice, this e5, knight b5, d6, knight on 1 to c3, and then a6, and then bishop g5. And this is something that I like to almost exclusively play against the Lowenthal move order. That's this particular move order. And the reason it works really well against the Lowenthal move order is because I've waited for bishop g5 to get played until after they've played a6. So having this a6 move inserted actually does make a difference on whether or not I play the sacrifice, because it means that going into the crazy lines with f6 is the only way that I'm going to lose a piece, because the move queen g5 is simply not good. Like queen g5, and then I can simply play this check, and then king any either d7 or d8. And the important thing to remember is this knight is actually going to have a retreat. And I've actually got one line worked out all the way to the end. It goes like bishop e2, bishop here, takes, and then we have knight d4, queen to c4. And the threat is queen c7, but a lot of people thinking that I'm apparently lost or something will take on g2, and then they'll fall into this. It's a checkmate combination. We have check, we have here, we have queen c8 check, we have here, and then we have knight d5 is going to be checkmate. So it's this mating combination that works amazingly well, and in my experience, amazingly consistently. So it's actually kind of funny. It's funny how often this works. But I've worked that line out fairly deeply. This idea with queen c7. Oh, it is also possible for them to play knight c2. It's a very similar situation. We can have knight c2 and then just some king move to get out of the way. King d1 is fine, and then after knight captures a1, it's the same idea. We have here, here, here. In this case, the queen can block, but then the knight can come back, and then king e7, and then knight d5 is made. So another cute idea. But that's why when I play this particular sacrifice line, I am waiting for this move order. I'm waiting for a6, and then they have to go into this other line after a6. They have to go into this idea with f6. They have to play pawn to f6, and then this is a whole another thing where I bring this bishop back to e3, and I'm down a piece, but I have a lot of compensation, and I do a whole nother video on this. It's very interesting stuff. But again, if they decide to, if I play my crazy sacrificial line, they can just play knight f6. And guess where we are? We're in the Lasker Pelican again. So what is this opening named with me pulling my hair out of my head? It is the Lasker Pelican. And I would just ignore for study purposes, unless you're playing something independent, which I personally don't. I don't play any independent lines against this stuff. I almost always end up in a Lasker Pelican or a Kalishnikov. It's not terribly relevant to remember, that you're playing it from a time enough move order, a Lowenthal move order, or, some other move order, or a Streshnikov or Sven, whatever. You don't need to remember all that. Oh, you just need to remember the Lasker Pelican and the Kalishnikov. And this is one of those situations where the move orders don't really matter that much. You end up in the same spot. You need to remember how to get there without blundering, but beyond that, the move orders just aren't that big of a deal. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something new about chess, and I hope you know what to call this opening now. Once you get here, it's the Lasker Pelican. So anyways, thank you very much for watching.